Hey there, Kaijudo Duelists. ReefPrince here with another tournament report. For those of you who haven't seen the previous video, I'm just going to recap the deck that I'm using real quick, and I'll also put it down below in the description. I'm using a Water Darkness Nature deck, whose goal is to get out a Skull Shatter as fast as possible, depleting my opponent's hand, and then using Waterspout Gargoyle to kind of lock them down and continue to apply pressure until I win. And at the time of this tournament, I had just spent 3 hours at the McDonald's across the street playtesting with Eric, also known as Blaze Belcher. So by this point, I've been up for a while, I've got a lot of sweet tea in me, and I'm ready to go. So here's the report. Round 1, I played against Kyle, who's using a Fire, Water, Darkness control deck. Now, Kyle was one of the newcomers from the Madness League, so it was pretty cool to see him back for Sunday's tournament. And as it turns out, he would end up doing really, really well today. So that's always good when new people come in and are, able to perform well, especially in the DFW area. I think we have a rather strong player base for Kaijudo here. Game 1, I'm able to get a Skull Shatter off on turn 6 or 7, but he stuck a bunch of early game blockers, and I couldn't deal with the blockers. I got Skull Shatter, and then he prevented me from doing anything. It was pretty bad. I Skull Shattered, and then just had to sit there while Gila Flame picked me apart. So, what are you gonna do? Game 2, I had a rather awkward start and didn't get a Skull Shatter until turn 9. So that was the first round. I really just not the best start for a new deck, but hey, it's just how it goes sometimes, I guess. Round 2, I played against Dr. Rob. He's using a Water Darkness control deck. What's interesting about his build compared to the other builds that I've seen is that he tends to favor the darkness blockers with pretty high power, but that die whenever they block and win a battle. So he was running copies of Skeeter Swarmer and Rupture Spider and stuff like that. Game 1 was kind of rough because I was forced to put a Waterspout Gargoyle in my mana zone early, and then when I played Mana Storm, I got the other one in my mana zone, so I have no Waterspout Gargoyles left. I did manage to Skull Shatter for 3 or 4 cards, but when I did so, I had no follow-through. He got Zagon on the board and just started swinging for shields, and I was unable to stop him. Game 2 was kind of unusual because we both had a really slow start, and we weren't really doing much. I got a really good Skull Shatter. I think it was 5 or 6 cards. Rob spent the middle of this game going for my shields and applying pressure because he knew that I was going to attempt to Skull Shatter very early and then use that to try and outpace him in the late game. What happened was he has, he's swinging in for game, and as he's picking apart my shields, he's hitting my last shield, and his last available attacking creature is a Razorkinder puppet. So he hits the shield, and I just pick up the card and just turn it over, just on the table. And it turns out it was a Terror Pit, killing the puppet and allowing me to win the next turn. So I lucked out. Game 2 went to me, and we went to Game 3. Game number 3, I got Mana Storm into Skull Shatter on turn 6. And I almost did it a second time, but he was able to Razorkinder puppet the card out of my hand. I did Crystal Memory, got the Skull Shatter, but then he played Puppet very next turn and pulled it out because he didn't want that to happen again. The kicker in this game was when I used Crystal Memory, I was kind of searching through my deck. I was like, okay, all 3 of my Terror Pits are here. Okay, all 3 Barrage, and all 3 Root Traps. I have no savers in my shields, not even a little bit. So I put on the pressure and I start attacking. At the end of the game, he has 1 shield and I have 2 attackers. He plays 2 blockers, and then on my turn, I play Waterspout Gargoyle, putting both of the blockers in his hand, attacked the shield, and it turned out to be nothing. So I ended up getting game 3 because I am a lucky person. Round 3, I played against Gordon. Gordon's also using a Water Darkness control deck. What's cool about his list is that it uses Hovercraft Glu-urrgle and Waterspout Gargoyle. It's very interesting. It has some good tempo to it. It's just lots of bouncing and discarding and killing stuff. Game 1, I was able to get a turn 5 Mana Storm into a turn 6 Skull Shatter. And it just went very smoothly from there. I was able to wrap it up. Game 2 went a little different. I tried the same thing. He had some early discard. So on turn 5, when I cast Mana Storm, I had a lone Skull Shatter left in my hand. And I was just sitting there holding this card thinking to myself, okay, what are the chances he lets me get away with that again? And on his turn, he plays Razorkinder Puppet. So now I have 8 mana and no cards. And he just kind of beats me up because he's got like 7 or 8 cards in hand. Because, you know, he's using blue. So, yeah, he killed me. He just beat me. For game 3, I'm going to skip to the ending. Gordon is attacking me with his last available attacker. And he hits a Crystal Memory. Now, on his side of the field, he has no shields and 3 Razorkinders. I have no creatures and no shields, and I'm just, a memory is popping, so I gotta decide what to get. I have Waterspout Gargoyle in my hand and Veil Vortex. Now, I conclude this game by losing and Jedi mind tricking myself to no end. I have Waterspout Gargoyle and Veil Vortex in my hand, and I Crystal Memory through my deck, and there are like 5 cards left. There's a Veil Vortex, there's a Rusalka, there's a Scaradorable, and there are a couple of other cards. I am thinking to myself, okay, I simply use Rusalka and Waterspout Gargoyle to bounce all of his creatures, and then he has to kill both of them and put some board presence down. I was like, all right, cool. So I grabbed Scaradorable, and then on my next turn, I drew my card, and then realized that I didn't get the Rusalka that I needed. I literally looked at my hand, looked at my deck, decided, okay, I need a Waterspout Gargoyle and a Rusalka. And then I picked up Scaradorable. And that's how I ruined my hopes and dreams. In my defense, Gordon told me later that that was the only game that he lost, was game 1 in our series. So, the small victories where you can get them, right? My final round was against David, who was using a Water Darkness Light control deck. Over the course of today, my games have gone either one of 2 ways. The first way is I streamline perfectly, turn 5 Mana Storm, turn 6 Skull Shatter. Their day is entirely ruined. I dump 15 cards out of their hand, and I just continue to apply pressure until they lose. The second type of game is where my deck does nothing for 6 turns, Mana Storms, and then awkwardly sits around and Skull Shatters on turn 9 or 10 if I'm not already dead. The first round between David and I was definitely the second type of game. I didn't do anything. He just played his stuff and just killed me. Razorkinders everywhere. The second round of our set was like the first type of game I described. I Skull Shattered him for, I think, 9 cards. And then again later for, I think, 7. He lost so many cards, and I just crushed him game 2. And game 3 was kind of the same, only a little bit slower. I was able to get a relatively quick Skull Shatter and then finish him off with late game pressure. Overall, the tournament was really fun, as it usually was, although it didn't quite go as well as I expected it to. I think one of the biggest reasons why the deck didn't go off is because I was too concerned with having a compact combo which is turn 5 Mana Storm, turn 6 Skull Shatter. The problem is, turn 5 should really be used for ReefPrince because ReefPrince is awesome. And the thing is, if I don't have Mana Storm or Skull Shatter by turn 5, I'm tempted to use Crystal Memory to go get it, which essentially locks down my entire mid-game. Whereas if I would have rounded out the deck with more green, put in some Bronze Arm Tribes and some Sprouts, I could have spent the early game ramping up and then spent the mid game using Crystal Memory and ReefPrince and getting some more hand advantage, and then playing Skull Shatter on turn 6 still without worrying about having to Mana Storm. Alright everyone, that about wraps it up for today. I just want to remind you all that I won't be going to League this weekend. Instead, I'll be going into Austin to visit my brother for the weekend, and I have 3 boxes waiting for me, so we're going to be doing some draft and hopefully some sealed play. Thunder Sultan loaned me his camera, so I'm going to be filming pretty much everything that I can, and hopefully I'll have some really cool footage, some matches, and maybe some other videos for you guys next week. Until next time, take it easy.